Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be reviewing Doctor Who and the Crusaders. And in case you think I said it wrong, Doctor Who and the Crusaders is what the novelization of this is called. It is, of course, the novelization of the Season 2 story, The Crusade. And it is novelized by David Whitaker, who, of course, wrote the original story, The Crusade. And if you're gonna novelize a David Whitaker story, the best person to have do it is probably David Whitaker. Now, David Whitaker also novelized The Daleks and did a great job with that. And I enjoy his novelization of The Crusade. It's basically the same. There's not a whole lot of differences between it, at least that jumped out to me. I think I've watched The Crusade, twice now. I do enjoy The Crusade a lot. I wish it was complete. Naturally, I think most of us do. I wish it was complete. I love the surviving episodes. Even the reconstructed episodes 2 and 4 on the box set are still fine. It helps to have the kind of linking narration turned on, especially in episode 4 where there's a lot of action happening. But it's still an enjoyable, fantastic story. The novelization is much the same. The main scene not in the novelization, I think, is the harem girl being tempted by the ring, the offer for the ring, and turning Barbara over, ratting Barbara out to get that ring. Is not present in the book, which, to be fair, is not something that needed to be in there. That is something you could have cut out of the original story. It wouldn't really have made much of a difference. It doesn't hurt the story by being there, but it doesn't need to be there. That could easily have been a deleted scene. So that's the only difference I can think of. It's very descriptive. The writing is very good. I remember I like one line. I actually remember this one. It's right when Ian is breaking into kind of the main antagonist's room. And the guy's like, "What are you doing here, Karen?" He spat out viciously. "Don't you know it's death to be in my harem?" "Your death," Ian said. I like that. "Your death," said Ian. I love that. There's several parts in here like this where either something is said in a manner that amused me or something is said where I'm like, "Oh, okay." I love the character of the thief in this, the one that ties Ian down and almost has the ants cover him. I loved him in the TV version, too. Just the way he's voiced is really well. I just like him as a character. He's a really funny character. It even makes mention of that in here. I forget exactly what he says, but Ian actually kind of likes the guy a bit. Just his mannerisms and the way he acts. Even had Ian amused at one point when he was tied down before he had to remember the situation he was in. There's just this likability to this guy. I don't know if that's the way David originally wrote it in the story, or if it's the way the actor played it, or the director had him played it, but he's a likable character despite being a thief and a ruffian. And the fact that he's like a thief with a code in a way, especially once he realizes Ian doesn't like the main antagonist, because this guy doesn't like it either, and he ends up helping Ian and keeping his word. He's like an honest thief. And his voice in my head, as I was reading the story, I was going off my memory of what he sounds like in the episode, which I don't know if I remember 100%. I remember it being a humorous dialect, of a humorous voice that the guy uses. And so I kind of had some kind of version of that in my head when he talks in this. And just the exchanges between them and the mannerisms, the way he says things is hilarious. I love that guy. I just do. I can't remember his name. But I love the guy. He's great in this. I wish I could remember his name. It begins with like an I, but he is, I don't see it right off, but he's great. He's one of my favorite parts of the story, that he kind of turns out to be kind of one of the good guys. Now, between the, TV version and the book, I don't really have a favorite. I like both of them. I mean, with the book, when you're reading the book, it kind of makes up for the lack of having missing episodes because you're picturing everything in your head. Having seen the episodes, I'm pretty much picturing the actors in character. You know, I'm picturing Julian Glover as King Richard. I'm picturing Jean Marsh as Joanna, and so on, because I've seen the episodes. I'm kind of running that through my head. But the book is descriptive enough that I have a good picture in my mind as I'm going. Whereas with the TV version, you have the benefit, you're getting the performances. I mean, you have 2 full episodes there that you can watch, but even with the missing episodes, you're getting those audio performances. So you can see you know, you can hear and see just how good Jean Marsh was in this role, and she is, and how good Julian Glover is in the role, and how good the guy playing Saladin and his brother are good in their roles, and they are fantastic in their roles. And in addition to our regular cast, which are great in their roles, as always. And it's interesting for me, because I feel like I understand the main cast so well, that even if I'd never seen this story, I could picture exactly how they would be reacting. I could picture how William Hartnell is going to do this line and his mannerisms. Same thing with William and with Jacqueline and with Maureen. I know how they're going to deliver those lines. Like, even if I hadn't seen it, I could imagine, I could approximate how I think they would do it. So it did a really good job at making the story come alive to me. And I enjoy the fact that in this conflict, there's not really good guys and bad guys. Both of the leaders are written well as good characters. They have a lot of character development. You know, especially back in the 60s, they could have taken the cheap way out and made Richard the Lionheart the good guy. And they could have made Saladin and his brother, the Sultan and his brother, you know, two-dimensional mustache-twirling villains. But they didn't do that. Richard, one, has his flaws, like his temper, for example, and his unwillingness to listen because of his temper. Julian Glover does a good job of showing the good of Richard and the flaws of Richard, which I like. So it makes him feel like a real person, not just a 2D character. It makes him feel like a real living, breathing person. But the same thing with the Saladin. He's written well. Neither of these two leaders really want this war, and they would love to find a way to not have this war so people aren't senselessly dying. And the guy playing Saladin, which I understand in 2025, people could have issues with him being cast as him because you are having to use brownface. I know, but the fact that the actor, both of the actor playing Saladin and the actor playing his brother, put in great performances. And the characters themselves are written well. Saladin is written as an honorable man, an honest man, a man who wants to get to the truth, who doesn't like dishonest men. The fact that he makes sure that the traitor who's dishonest doesn't end well. The fact he makes sure the knight Sir William is accommodated and treated well, not tortured, treated very well. You know, give him every liberty except that of liberty. And the same thing with his brother. His brother's written really well. I like the fact that both of these leaders are written virtuously, like they have strong virtues. I like that. And I like the fact that, especially with Richard, there are some flaws there. I really appreciate that in both versions, the TV version and the story. Again, it's David Whitaker doing both. And there's not a lot of differences between them. But if you want an alternate way to experience this story, the novelization is definitely a good way to go. More and more, I become a big fan of David Whitaker's writing. I think he was phenomenal at it, and he's one of the essential parts of Doctor Who. Matter of fact, I'm bold enough to say I think he's the most important Whitaker in Doctor Who. I'll say that. Since he was the original script editor, he was the man who hired Terry Nation, and without Terry Nation, there would be no Daleks. Without the Daleks, who knows how long Doctor Who would have lasted. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I really appreciate the Flyattractor sending me this, because one of my patrons, who's also one of my subscribers, the Flyattractor, did send me this. He's actually the person who has sent me probably most of the novels that I've gotten Doctor Who. He's sent me most of the novels I've gotten for Doctor Who. He's been a huge supporter of the channel. He sent me several things, including the box cutter to open up his packages that he sends, because he's the one who wraps them like his... He wraps them the way my aunt wraps Christmas presents. They're not made to be gotten into. So I really appreciate him sending that. If there's anything you would like to send me, my P.O. box is down in the description below. I always love getting fan mail, whether it be action figures, DVDs, Big Finish audios, novels, comic books. I found out I really like some of the 13th Doctor's comic books. The 13th Doctor has some really good expanded media stories, believe it or not. Despite being my least favorite Doctor. When she has some good writing, you can get some good stories from her. And that includes in the TV, in her TV episodes. And you know, I also like, you know, sonic screwdriver replicas. I still need to get a 14th Doctor one at some point. So if there's anything you want to send, check that out. I have links to my Amazon wish list down there. Links to the Amazon UK wish list are down there. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. The Flyattractor is also one of my patrons. I just had a brand new patron join, David Hamilton. I really appreciate him joining as well. He joined at my John Pertwee level. Very, very appreciative. I want to give a shout out to some of my other top tier patrons, Colin Coney, Sam Venning, Unknown289, Finn Perkins, and Paul Gibbons. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons and all of my YouTube members. Very much appreciated. And most importantly, thank you for watching. And if you don't know about David Whitaker, learn about David Whitaker. He's pretty awesome.